was a story I wanted to get in yesterday, but obviously with all the stuff about KD, we didn't have a chance. It comes from a Bleacher Report interview with Rajon Rondo, where he addressed everything that happened with the Lakers last year. And just as we suspected, it seems a lot of the season changed when the trade rumors involving Anthony Davis came around. And here's what he said. He said, every guy on our team, LeBron was their favorite player growing up. Everyone had the shoes, the jersey. You're the biggest fan in the world. It's like you're playing with MJ, and you get there, and it's like your mom or your dad, the person you looked up to and idolized, doesn't want you. Then to have that sitting in your gut, guys aren't at the age where they can have a man-to-man conversation. It's a really interesting perspective there, basically saying these young guys on the Lakers all looked up to LeBron so much, it was sort of a gut punch to them to find out that LeBron actively wanted to trade them away. Caron Butler's made his way in our studio, just got off a flight across the country. He'll be with us for the next few days. But when you hear that, it does seem now more clear than ever. Rajon Rondo was saying it. The Anthony Davis trade stuff destroyed the Lakers this year.
Yeah, you know what? I felt like that with the young nucleus that they had on that ball club for numerous reasons. And, you know, working with the Lakers this season, you can just see it was deflating, you know, going into All-Star break. And then coming out of the All-Star break, they did not have no momentum whatsoever because I just felt like guys wasn't engaged. And one thing that the godfather of the game taught me early, Pat Riley, don't read the paper, because your feelings will get hurt. You know, if you start buying into some of the things and some of the narratives that's thrown out there about yourself, you start believing those things, and I think that the young nucleus bought into that.
All right, well, let me give you the solution to all of this, because like most people, I can see the problem, but unlike most people, I can actually solve it, and it is quite simply this. The Los Angeles Lakers have a path for everything they've gotten wrong during this offseason, for all of the mess that is going on in Los Angeles. There is a pretty simple route, in my opinion, to a championship in LA, and that route is called Kyrie Irving. They don't need to trade for Anthony Davis. They have a bunch of good young players in Los Angeles, and they have LeBron James, who is probably still the best player in the league. And if he is, if you put Kyrie Irving on that team, with an injured Kevin Durant taking the Warriors certainly down a significant notch, with Houston getting older and probably worse, look around the landscape of the West. I believe if Kyrie Irving signs with the Lakers, they would, in my opinion, become the team to beat in the Western Conference. What do you make of that?
I totally agree, and I think that with the injury to my brother Kevin Durant, I think it changes everything. The whole landscape of, you know, the competitive thrive in the players and what's capable and what's out there, and it's a realistic, attainable goal for the Los Angeles Lakers if they acquire Kyrie Irving to win a championship.
What do you think, Seth? They can make this happen this fast?
I think that LA's always been the best destination for Kyrie because he knows exactly what he's getting. He understands the dynamic between himself and LeBron, even better now because of what he went through in Boston. I think they could be the best team in the West. There are some teams in the East that are just more talented, younger, more athletic, have more guys that can impact the game at every position. I think Boston's not going away. Philadelphia's not going away. Toronto, I think, probably will not go away. But in terms of the West, it would come down to, in my gut feeling, would be Lakers. And still, let's not discredit the Warriors, because it's not like the Warriors are going to stand still.
Of course.
If they don't get KD, they're going to do other things. They're going to have money that's going to be freed up. They're going to sign Clay, and they're going to continue to get better because they are a destination. New arena, play with Clay, play with Curry. They're still a destination.
I agree with that, but just look at all the things that have happened with the Lakers since we basically spent 2 days burying them. Look at all the things that have happened with the Lakers. Kevin Durant goes down. That takes Golden State down no matter what happens. Kawhi Leonard is probably on the verge of winning a championship, which makes it likelier that he doesn't come out to the Western Conference and go to the Clippers. And Kyrie doesn't have a guy to run with now, so it feels more likely that he goes to run with LeBron. I think this whole thing is shaping up very nicely for them. I see the look on the face of Marcus Spears here, who I'm just going to bring you into this thing because I can feel you burning a hole in the back of my head. Is it because I'm so brilliant you just can't fathom it?
I love the brilliancy of Mike Greenberg, but let me also say this.
Yeah.
Everybody seems to forget that LeBron James still plays for the Lakers.
Right.
Like we've got, Caron, I had this conversation for a lot of basketball guys, this Kawhi, Kevin Durant conversation about them being the best players in the NBA. 28-7-7 and nobody's talking about you, that means you're the best player in the NBA.
I mean, you still putting up that work.
Come on,
right there.
man.
You still got
Those are numbers. Some of those numbers are empty. Look, LeBron is
Empty.
wait a second. Every team is a leading scorer and a leading rebounder. Yes or no? Now,
That's
LeBron
true.
does special things, but he's not what he was. Look, Father Time is undefeated. Can he take a team by himself? No, he can't. And that's why he needs your guy, Kyrie. And the other thing is, Kyrie's the one superstar that they can actually recruit that understands what he's getting into. Those younger guys, they don't get it yet. All right, because they've been enabled and like the generation, quote unquote, why? Those guys aren't ready to be tutored or mentored by LeBron because of what they've seen.
I guess that phrase "out of sight, out of mind" is real. Is something real.
Yeah, that's fair. But he'll come back, and everything is changing around them. And those young guys, if you're talking about Kuzma and Ball and Hart and Ingram, if all those guys know they're there and they're winning and they're going to try and load up and win with that group, look, I'm not saying that they shouldn't try and get Anthony Davis if they can, but they got to make a decision on it one way or the other.
But to my point, G, the reason why you're having this conversation is not because Kyrie is joining the Lakers. It's because LeBron is already there.
Right.
You talking about being contenders. We all know Kyrie ain't going to L.A. and making them a contender by themselves. It's because LeBron is a Laker and this window of opportunity with Kevin Durant. Obviously, Kyrie and LeBron are a match made in heaven because LeBron is a pass-first basketball player that, oh, by the way, averages 30.
When last seen, LeBron and Kyrie together were winning a championship against a 73-win Golden State Warriors team.
We forgot that.
And this cast that they could have around him right now is better than the cast they had together in Cleveland back then. Speaking of the championship, obviously the games continue tomorrow night. The critical Game 6, the final game ever in Oracle, one way or the other. Can the Warriors keep the season alive, or does Kawhi raise the championship trophy on the road? You'll find out starting with NBA Countdown, 8:30 Eastern tomorrow night on ABC, and it's available on the ESPN.
Said by Steve Kerr. Meanwhile, breaking news in a sports center. The Memphis Grizzlies are hiring Bucks assistant coach Taylor Jenkins as the next head coach. That's according to our Adrian Wojnarowski. Jenkins is the third NBA head coach to come directly off of Mike Budenholzer's coaching staff, including Utah's Quinn Snyder and Brooklyn's Kenny Atkinson. Meanwhile, folks, let's get back to a game last night. David, you watched it. I watched it. Are you with me?
So much to unpack, Carrie, from this Game 5. The lasting impact, of course, befell Kevin Durant, who looked great early on. Here's Doris Burke pregame and what concerns the Warriors might have had.
Are you concerned at all about long-term re-injury? He said not in terms of Achilles or worsening that calf. He said the worst we think could happen is that he could tweak the calf. But other than that, he's good to go.
Well, they missed that one, unfortunately. Early on, it was all good. Less than 2 minutes in, KD first shot is good for 3, and then another. His second shot, good for 3. KD had 11 in the first quarter, 3 of 4 shooting. So all was good early on, and then, unfortunately, the second quarter and the chilling moment when he plans to drive, and immediately you knew something was wrong as he hobbles off and grabs that lower leg. Haunting echoes of the injury back in May were basically the same kind of deal. He's helped up by his teammates, but just a wrenching moment for Kevin Durant, who works so hard to get back and then has to be helped off the floor. And in a horrible turn, the Raptors fans started cheering and waving goodbye. You can see Kyle Lowry there. Just, come on. Let's be classy about this. And Serge Ibaka the same way. The PA guy had to shush the crowd. They would finally get it turned around.
Trash. So trash. But like I said, we only idolize is superstar athletes, not human beings. It's always about what we can do between those lines. That's it. That's all that ever matters.
I don't think the fans knew the, significance of the injury. They kind of just seen him went down. And, in this league, we're all brothers. At the end of the day, we're all brothers, and it's a small brotherhood. And, you never want to see a competitor like him go down.
Here's a close-up of the right leg. And you see the shudder there. It sort of ripples through his leg. Many have opined that that's the Achilles tearing. An MRI will make that determination later today. But here's what it sounded like as KD left. The question today is, was KD pressured to come back too soon? Is there blame to be assigned? Here's Bob Myers after the game.
Prior to coming back, he went through 4 weeks with our medical team, and it was thorough, and it experts and multiple MRIs and multiple doctors, and we felt good about the process. He was cleared to play tonight. That was a collaborative decision. I don't believe there's anybody to blame, but I understand this world, and if you have to, you can blame me. I run our basketball operations department, and let me tell you something about Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant loves to play basketball, and the people that questioned whether he wanted to get back to this team were wrong. And I'm not here to... He's one of the most misunderstood people. He's a good teammate. He's a good person. It's not fair.
Heavy hearts, but Golden State has to push on. Fourth quarter, let's go. We see Kawhi looking a little gassed here. 5:30 left. 2-point lead for Golden State. Andre Iguodala with a miss. Kawhi gets the rebound, brings it down, nails an easy three-pointer right here at the top. Raptors take a 1-point lead. Next possession, same score. Kawhi just goes on a tear here. Waves off the screen, drives with the push off the glass, back-to-back buckets for Kawhi. So we watch him do what he does. Here he is again, 4:15 left. He has DeMarcus Cousins on a bit of a mismatch, and he just shoots it straight up. Three-pointer. Kawhi, 8 straight points for the Raptors with 3.5 to go. Again, more Kawhi. Drives, hits the mid-range jumper. He cannot miss. Raptors have a 6-point lead, but here's this timeout that everyone continues to talk about. Why did Nick Nurse do that when they had the momentum? Meanwhile, you come out of that tee, Klay Thompson gets it up top, nails this three, cuts the lead to 3. Same score, 1 minute, 30 seconds left to go. Steph Curry right here, and this is really pretty. Steph doing what he does. And he was struggling all second quarter, but he was able to get that. The game is now tied. Just over a minute left. That running in transition, beautiful. Here he is now, give it back to Klay. What does he do? Yeah, he hits a 3. He faked out everyone on that one. The Warriors scored 9 straight points after Nurse calls that timeout, something that we will talk about in a moment with Stephen A. Smith. Now, despite that, Raptors, they had one more chance to get it done. 15 seconds to go. Kawhi double teams. Right here, he comes up, everyone tries to grab him. He should have the ball in the last possession. He gives it to Van Fleet. He gives it to Kyle. Draymond gets a piece of it. He didn't just hit the backboard on purpose. Warriors win just by a point. Fans are shocked. Meanwhile, after the win and an incredible loss by losing KD, here's Steve Kerr.
They've accomplished so much over the years, and that doesn't just happen. And it doesn't just happen with talent. There has to be more that goes into it. And it's that fight, that competitive desire that I talked about, and that ability to stay poised under pressure.
Win or lose, I don't feel like we need to prove anything anymore. It's just about, can we get the job done or not? And obviously, like I said, tonight was an emotional roller coaster from start to finish, and we have another game to play on Thursday, so we'll be ready for it. But there's no more statements need to be made about who we are as a team and our heart and our competitiveness and whatnot. We want to win this championship. We're going to give everything we got, but I think we're done with, proving people wrong.
Seth is done with those old storylines. In fact, he's right. It was an emotional roller coaster. Kevin Durant, immediately after the game, Dub Nation going to be loud as bleep for Game 6. I'm hurting deep in the soul right now. I can't lie. But seeing my brothers get this win was like taking a shot of tequila. I got new life. Laugh out loud. #Dubs. Wow, that had to be tough for him to say. Meanwhile, Stephen A. Smith was there. He joins us last night. Golden State extends the series to Game 6, but it comes with an invaluable loss, as we've talked about all night long and this morning. Your words last night, the series ruined. Why is the series ruined, Stephen A., in your opinion, after you watch KD go down?
Well, just for me as a basketball fan, to see a player as great as Kevin Durant, to have the kind of impact on the game that he can have, to see him go down in an NBA Finals game after the way that he was flowing. It would be one thing if he came out hobbled. That would be frustrating enough. But to be gone 5 weeks, 9 straight playoff games, to come back, hit all 3 of his three-point shots, finish with 11 points in the first quarter, be en route to scoring 40 for crying out loud. And we all know that he's capable of doing that in his sleep. For him to go down like that, it just zapped the life out of you. You were sad for him. You were sad for basketball fans everywhere that looked forward to witnessing his greatness. You were sad for the Golden State Warriors, at least momentarily, because you knew that they would be climbing an uphill battle. It's a testament to them that they were able to come back from it. But when you see the Toronto Raptors play basketball the way that they play, how physical and gifted they are, and how they could just throw a string of young, athletic, strong bodies in your direction, it's a lot to overcome. And obviously Kevin Durant would have done a lot to help the Golden State Warriors in that regard. And now they don't have him at all. And there's no possibility of him coming back to save the day in this series. That's why I was sad.
Yeah, it's a sad loss for basketball, Stephen A. Well said. Late in the fourth, Raptors start to gain some momentum. Nick Nurse takes a timeout, and I watched you last night on SportsCenter. We're hearing different takes on this. Chuck was on Get Up this morning. He says that timeout was fine. Anyone who disagrees doesn't really know basketball. You said last night that timeout was a huge assist for Golden State. It stalled the rally of the Raptors.
Well,
what do you feel?
The only reason I'm asking, I'm interrupted, is that you said who said that doesn't really know basketball?
It was Charles Barkley. He said that on Get Up this morning.
Okay, Charles. As you know, Charles Barkley is my brother. That's my man. I love him. This is the same Charles Barkley that had the Milwaukee Bucks facing the Portland Trailblazers for the NBA Finals. Okay, so let's keep that in its proper perspective. This is the Charles Barkley that texted me prior to Game 5 and said, like I told you, Raptors in 5. That is that same Charles Barkley. So if we don't know basketball, what the hell does Charles Barkley know at this particular moment in time? Let's be clear about that. But in fairness to Nick Nurse, let me say this. Nick Nurse has done a fabulous job throughout the year and has done a sensational job in the postseason. But I thought he dropped the ball yesterday. He wanted to use one of those timeouts because he said after 3 minutes, you were going to run out of them. So let me use them. I understand fatigue was setting in. I understand that from that perspective, he was looking out for his team. But Kawhi Leonard was on a roll. You had the momentum. And what was the price to be paid? Worst case scenario is that it doesn't work for you. You lose and you get what we've got. Or you ride that adrenaline into an offseason where you are crowned and coronated as the NBA champions for the first time in franchise history, for the first time in the country of Canada. This is what you had rolling for you. Kawhi Leonard and those boys were balling. On top of that all, Steph Curry and Klay Thompson were sucking air. So, yes, you gave your team a break, disrupting your own momentum, but in the process, you gave Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, two of the greatest shooters we may have ever seen, getting a reprieve, a rest, going on a bench, drinking some Gatorade, whatever it was, revitalizing themselves and coming out there to do what they did. In the immediate aftermath of the timeout, what happens? Klay Thompson hits a 3. Steph Curry hits a 3. Then Klay Thompson hits a 3. What do? In the last 3:28, you go 1 of 6 from the floor, and that one shot you made was on a goaltending call by DeMarcus Cousins, and a shot that may have missed had he not touched it around the perimeter of the rim. So I look at it from the perspective that if you are the Toronto Raptors, clearly that timeout cost you the game. There is no question in my mind, and you've given the greatest shooting backcourt, without question, that we have ever seen in NBA history new life at the Oracle Thursday night, Game 6. They've got air to breathe. They've been oxygenated, and the bottom line is the Toronto Raptors can be in trouble because of it. Now, if that's Charles Barkley's definition of not talking basketball, what I would encourage Charles Barkley to do is to go to Portland or Milwaukee, which is where he swore we'd be for the NBA Finals. I'm here in Toronto, and I'm on my way to San Francisco.
No. Meanwhile, Chuck just texted me. He said he got a word for you. He real mad at you right now. That's
Come
what
on,
he said.
He ain't mad at me. That's my brother. Man, ain't got nothing but love for me. But he's paying for dinner. Tell him I said
disrespect.
that.
I'll tell him that.
Okay.
Meanwhile, Stephen A. Smith, I love our normal Q&As. Nothing unorthodox about the interview. Thank you so much for joining us here.